Hey everybody, it's Reviews and More, back with a one-year review on Taotronics 1500 watt space heater. It oscillates, it has a thermostat that goes from like 45 to 95, and it goes for about $50. You see kind of the wear and tear just from age and dust and everything else getting on there. But overall, really happy with the item, and we're going to run through just a real quick room test. That's where I basically let my room get nice and chilly, got it down to like low 60s. You'll see on the little handheld thermometer. And before we really jump right into it, as always, please hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. Now, it's getting wintertime, and like most people, you're probably going, gosh, I hate running that heater for the whole daggone house, when really I just need to make sure my bathroom or whatever room is warm while I'm getting ready for work or whatever. That way you're not running your whole heating for the whole house or apartment. This kind of helps solve that for us as a family. We're realizing very quickly, like, we're not in a whole lot of rooms in the house all at once all the time. So that's why we're kind of relying more on space heaters during the winter just to save on gas and that kind of stuff. It's a little more expensive these days. But there you see it kind of working, the oscillation option, everything else. And again, this is all after a year. So this thing is doing very well, still working just fine. But I'm going to give a quick demonstration. You'll see the all the stuff with the thermometer and the various 5-minute intervals. We're going to check this out loud on. It's got some nice safety features in it. You can look at those when I post the link on the description, but overall, very safe item. Tips over, it doesn't go, it stops, that kind of stuff. So you see here with the thermometer, it's about 63 degrees, so low 60s in the room itself. That's just keeping the window open for a little while as it's getting chilly outside. The room itself is about 8 by 8, so you're looking at about 64 square feet, maybe a little bit less with heated space because there's some you see some drywalling in there for like the privacy area for the toilet and everything. But that's what we're dealing with here. We're going to set it to 75. This means that the air doesn't seem to pump out at a different temperature. I think it just cuts the heat after a while once it gets to a certain rate. I believe that's how this particular item works. There you see the venting is not on, so you know there's nothing else going on in the room, or at least you have to take my word on it. So once it starts going, the heat comes out, and the heat comes out at about 130 degrees, and I'll show that towards the end of the video. But after about 5 minutes in a 64 square foot room with about, I think they're 9-foot ceilings, so I'm not going to do the math on that while I'm doing this recording, but whatever. It's 64 by 9. Let me give you just a second. We're dealing with just under 600 cubic feet of airspace we kind of got to fill with a different temperature, or where this heater disperses. So after just about 5 minutes, we're already seeing a pretty big jump. It's jumped at least 6 degrees, closer to 7 in some places. Obviously, the closer you are to the heater as it's going, it's going to be warmer. And since this heat's from the bottom, because that's where it's located, it's about a foot or so tall. That's where it's going to put a lot of heat out before it gets a chance to rise and dissipate in the room. So here's about another 5 minutes, so we're at 10 minutes total at 75 degrees. We're at 71, 72, and this is what I think the max you're going to get when you set the thermostat to 75. Once it gets anywhere close to 75 degrees, the internal thermostat kind of kicks on and thinks that the air near it is going to be the typical air of the whole room. So if you want a room to be hotter than that, you're going to have to raise the temperature, and that's what the next test is going to kind of show. You're going to see it, we're pumping up to 95, which means it's just going to go. So until this room gets close to 95, which it never will because the ambient temperature outside was in the high 40s, low 50s, this is never going to happen. So we're going to bump it to 95 and briefly down to 40 because it ran over. But once that happens, it's going to just run continuously, which is something you need to keep in mind with this. If you buy this and you set it at 95, there is no turning it off. It'll just keep going. There's no internal timer unless you set one. It's just going to go. And there is a timer option on it you can set up. But 5 minutes at 95, it jumps up a few more degrees, over 75 degrees in some places. Obviously, the higher up you measure, because the heat has not dissipated that high yet, it's going to be a little lower. And the closer you get to the item, typically, you're going to get a more high temperature. So after about 25 minutes, this little bathroom was basically heated up to about 77 degrees in places, depending on where you measured. But that's going to be about it, guys. Overall, really happy with it for I believe it's $50. I think this higher on certain websites like third-party sellers. Unfortunately, right now we're in the throes of winter, so these kind of items, for whatever reason, even these have scalpers make money off this kind of stuff. So they'll buy a bunch of them and list them on other sites, and they're out of stock with the main page, that kind of stuff. But I believe Taotronics actually has a similar listing to this for about $50. Newegg from a third-party seller is like $70. Don't pay that much. Do not pay $70 for a heater unless you are truly desperate. But overall, really happy with the product. Works out great. There you see the temperature comes out at. It comes out at 130, so you're looking at bath water. Like bath water temperatures is how the heat comes out. but overall really happy with it. Gets the room close to 80 after about 25 minutes, and certainly heats an area near you well enough to where it can make it very comfortable. Thanks again. Have a great day.